Shalom, everyone, and welcome to the first broadcast of the Torah portion from Etam, Florida. We're so thankful and humbled to be here. As you can see behind us, this is the living room of our new home, which kept us from going to Sukkot. So we ask everyone's forgiveness and mercy on that. And this Torah portion is just absolutely off the charts. Lech Lecha. We have Abraham, who was chosen in the previous chapter. His name is mentioned, his birth was mentioned. And out of the chute, the boss says, Lech Lecha, get you out. Now, Ur of the Chaldees, I think, was very close to Babylon. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I like to put a practical application to the Torah portion, if I can, if there's something that's speaking to us here and now. And I like to think of the fact that we, as residents of the end time Babylon, Jeremiah 15:51, we have a Lech Lecha coming, okay? And Terah took Abraham, Lot, whose father was killed in the fiery furnace with Abraham, if you understand that story. And they took their wives and went to Haran, okay, and stayed there until I think Terah died. Mm-hmm. And we have an identical Lech Lecha coming. And I being the individual that I am, I put a lot of thought into how we're going to leave here, okay? And in my humble opinion, we're going to be able to use our current methods of transportation, which are cars, trucks, motorhomes, whatever you want to drive. And in this last year, the Dodge boys, who were two Jewish men who started the Dodge Chrysler line of cars, produced a truck called a Ram. And this year's newest edition is, of course, the TRX, the T-Rex. And I envision having one of those with on the back tailgate, they have in bold black letters, Ram, okay? And I would want to put on it Abraham's Ram, and then on the side have it stenciled Lech Lecha, so that when we depart out of here, we're not remaining in the place of the breaking forth of children. There's a verse, I got to find that verse, it's referenced, where it tells Ephraim not to remain long in the place of giving childbirth. And for me, that speaks to our exodus out of these United States of America. And you say, well, Ed, I've listened to your teaching on the 7 unknown stops, and you say the Isaiah 27:12 pinpoints Brunswick. Well, hey, we're out in Amarillo, Texas, or we're up in Oregon, or we're stuck in Canada. How are we going to get there? Well, I simply humbly submit to everyone to include this in your daily prayers always. Yeshua said, "Watch you therefore and pray always that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that are coming to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. And where are we going to stand? I like to reference good old Ezekiel chapter 20. He says clearly, I will bring you out of the four countries, Lech Lecha, get you out, four corners of the earth, and bring you into the wilderness of the peoples. That can only be Har Sinai. And I will deal with you face to face as I did with your fathers when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. And for me, this move that we've made from North Carolina to this little spot between Chiefland and Fanning Springs is so profound because, geographically, you've heard me say, it's on the same latitude as our forefathers' encampment at Etam. And Tammy and I've lived this. We went from Ramses to Sukkot to Etam, which is part of the thin red line that shows up in this Torah portion. Okay, for the first time, you have the smoking lamp and the burning furnace in the covenant that the Father made with Abraham. And that's who leads the children of Israel out of Egypt. And as I've shared in the past, there's a report out that when they were going to go to war against Saddam, they wanted to know where his 1,500 tanks were buried in the sand. So they turned the whole satellite onto that area. And sure enough, the sensors on that satellite are so sensitive, it just made it like, broad daylight. There were the tanks buried in the sand. But it also showed them something else. That beginning in ancient Ramses, Egypt, going northeast to Sukkot, those my father's bones, and then shot down across the Negev to Etam, where it then turned a due south and went through the hourglass gorge that opens up onto Nuweiba Beach, stops there at Nuweiba Beach, and then the thin red line picks up on the other side, goes up and around, and comes into the holy precinct at Har Sinai. And would I love to have that photograph, because I would love to see this area. I would be scouring Hebron, the ancient site of the Oaks of Mamre, where the boss and the two witnesses, I believe, visit Abraham in this Torah portion and tell him this time next year you're going to have a son. Okay, and then he has that covenant that when the smoking lamp and the burning furnace walks through those pieces for Abraham, because our father Abraham is asleep, he could not fulfill the she licked my finger. Could not fulfill the terms of this covenant. That there's somewhere in that picture you would see an identical, very short, thin red line. Okay, that's what I would want to find. Could you imagine? You would be able to pinpoint the exact location where Abba made the covenant with our father Abraham, because they left the identical imprint. And nobody can talk about it. And I'm praying, I'm asking the Father, Abba, could I get a copy of that photograph? Somehow, some way, I want to see a copy of that keyhole style photograph that reveals the incredible imprint that the smoking lamp and the burning furnace, who show up in this Torah portion, made as the children of Israel, the children of Israel, from Ramses to Mount Sinai. And brothers and sisters, we have the same journey, except this time our brothers and sisters are coming from four corners, and we in this corner over here. And I say as in the United States. All the corners, north, south, and west.
East. We're in the west.
Well, east, you're right, east. Forgive me. I got a little confused. East, they're pretty much land connected, okay? For the exception of Australia, Fuji's, and all the islands. I don't know how the boss is going to do that. He's got it. It's his show.
He said he would divide the river in its 7 streams.
Right. And cause men to go over dry shod. This is Isaiah 11, 15, and 16, as the children of Israel did in the day they came up out of Egypt. Guys, this is my expectation. And for Tammy and I, this move here, this is just temporary. We know, we believe with all our hearts, because guys, the next time when we move, we're going to Pihaha Road, we're going across the ocean. Okay. And that to me is a practical application of this and just absolutely awesome Torah portion. And my beloved has
Abba gave me a little diamond last night. And so I'm gonna share that with you now.
Go, baby.
So the Parsha Lech Lecha is go forth or get you out. Genesis 12:1 through 17:27. The short summary of this very long and action-packed Torah portion is this. God makes a covenant with Abram, promising to make his descendants a great nation. God changes Abram's name to Abraham.
We're cutting up, but go ahead.
Oh,
I hope everybody can hear us.
Can you hear us okay now? Okay.
Is it okay?
It says better now. Okay.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay. Abraham has a child with Hagar, his wife's maidservant, and names him Ishmael. God then promises Abraham's barren wife, Sarah, that she will have a child. So let's do a little word study. What does the phrase Lech Lecha really mean? First, the two words themselves are derivations of the same root word, yalach, which is Strong's number H3212. And that means to go, walk, come, depart, proceed, move, go away. Or the second definition is to die, to live, or manner of life, figuratively. This is usually translated as get thee out from your country, your birthplace, or your father's house. But it literally means go to yourself. Going has a connotation in Torah of moving toward one's ultimate purpose, of service towards one's creator. And this is strongly hinted at by the phrase, go to yourself, meaning toward your soul's ultimate purpose or that for which you were created. With this in mind, and using the law of first mention, where does the word first appear in the Torah? Genesis 14, where the serpent is cursed to go on its belly and shall eat the dust all the days of its life. So yes, it would appear the word yalach certainly has the connotation of pointing to one's ultimate destiny. We see that the events that transpired in the life of Abraham foreshadowed the destiny of his descendants. 1. Abraham was forced to move to Egypt by a famine in the land, just as Jacob was. Abraham was forced to leave Egypt, but received blessings of great wealth and possessions as he left. So did the children of Israel. Abraham met Elohim face to face, just as the children of Israel were supposed to meet him at Mount Sinai.
Amen.
Abraham received a covenant from Yehovah, just as the children of Israel did at Mount Sinai. And this may not be the last one, but it's where I want to stop. Abraham purchased a parcel of land from the inhabitants, but Yehovah gave the children of Israel the promised land, the whole promised land, as an inheritance. So, John, Sandy, Mark, I want you guys to come back in. I got a question to ask you.
Yeah, this is important.
Yes.
This is the kicker, guys. I hope this brings
diamond.
A smile to your face, joy in your spirit, fire in your tent poles. Now, come on.
So, do you know where in the Tanakh a derivative of the word yalach appears? Do you have any idea?
No.
Give up?
You're going to love this, guys. Get ready.
Okay, so does this sound familiar? Come now, and let us reason together, saith Jehovah.
Wow.
Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though
Wow.
they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. Isaiah 1:18.
Understand that, guys. Get
Wow.
back.
We need to change the name of the show now. We obviously don't know anything about it.
Now,
I love it.
okay, the word in the opening word "come now" is "lachuna," which is a derivation of the word "yelach." So this show has a direct link to this Torah portion, the calling from the life of our father Abraham. So how
Amen.
cool is that?
That's beautiful.
That's really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Let is embodied in "Come, let us reason together." Baruch Hashem.
Very cool.
Man, that's great. Now, did everybody? They said they had spooling problems. Did you hear what I said about at least the TRX?
Yes.
The Abraham's ram and Lech Lecha. You wouldn't use this vehicle on the basis of gas mileage because it sucks gas worse than anything on the planet.
Yeah.
But
Our motorhome
it is
is
the finest engineered for crossing deserts, any and all terrain that you find. And I would just love to have Abraham's ram on the back of that tailgate. I can say one more thing about that.
Well,
The very first time that I shared the 7 unknown stops was to my dear friend, Dr. Walter Squires. He was in the hospital at North
memory.
of blessed memory. He was in the hospital at North Florida. And my dear friend Arthur Likens, and to Arthur and I, Walter and his wife Judy were like surrogate parents for us.
Get your breath.
I didn't want to do this. When I shared the 7 with Dr. Squires, he had the prettiest smile you could ever see on a man's face. And I said, Walter, could you imagine driving your truck over to Flagler Beach, hitting 4 high, and just keep on going and the water split? And Walter put that beautiful smile. And he said, Eddie, I'm riding shotgun. And when we buried my precious brother and I put that last shovel of dirt that I put on his coffin, I said, Walter, you're still riding shotgun. And my dear brother, Arthur Likens, gave me his fleet,
Walter's Talit.
which will be on the right front seat of whatever vehicle yours truly gets to head across those divided waters. So forgive me for being so emotional. I love him and I miss him. He was a wonderful man. And he is, as long as I'm living and breathing and I'm able to drive, he will be riding shotgun.
Very cool.
That means I got to sit in the back seat.
No, you can sit there with his tallit wrapped around you if you want to. Amen. Love you guys. Thank y'all for covering us in this. But this is a barn burner of a Torah portion.
It is.
Oh my!
There's so much. There's just so much.
And thank y'all for the great honor we have of sharing this with you. And we love you all. We sure miss. And Mark, again, I want to thank you for filling in for us, my dear brother at Sukkot.
Our hearts were with you.
Oh,
Yes.
Sandy made me do it.
I felt so bad about it. I really did.
Yeah,
Really did.
yeah. That's all right. You'll get your reward. That's for sure.
Amen, brother. Amen.
All right.
Anyway,
Well,
Go
thank
ahead.
you.
I got somebody at the front door. I'll be right back.
Yeah. No, that's a good word. And I just think about all these different things as the day and the hour that we're living in. It is truly, we don't know the timing of everything, but we certainly see the signs. And signposts are getting closer and closer. The exit's coming.
Yes,
Let me put
sir.
it that way. The
Oh,
exit's
my
coming.
brother.
You
And
know,
Bob, I love what Bob said. He said that they spent Shabbat last month on Flagler Beach, Florida.
Wow. Well, we're on the opposite coast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on the West Coast.
Just about the same latitude, though.
Yeah, just about the same latitude.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'll never forget Walter and that big, beautiful smile of his. He had the most beautiful smile a man could ever have. And he says, Eddie, I'm riding shotgun. I said, yes, sir. Wow.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I was just thinking, and this, I'm just thinking out loud, y'all. And one of the things that's in this week's Torah portion is that Abraham was involved in dividing the land.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because he and his shepherds and his herdsmen and Lot's were getting into fights over, who can go where in the land, and the herds were getting too big. So he said, choose. Do you want the hill country or do you want the valley? And he let Lot take part of the land. And it just makes me wonder, when we look at all these different pieces, is that one of the signposts?
Most definitely.
So in other words, because this I hate to call it an administration, but this chairmanship that we have currently occupying a certain building in Washington wants to divide the land. And of course, that is going to be, I think, in my opinion, one of the big signs of so many events that are about to come. And I'm just wondering if this is a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's going on to prepare us to get us to the point when we're called out. And of course, it's going to be a miraculous calling out. That there's no other way to say it. With people like in Canada, people in different states here in the United States, people in Australia, where it's just intense, and the lockdowns, how the Father's just going to open up those streams, open up those pathways, those in order for us to exit and to be all brought together to the mountain. So I was just kind of thinking about that as you were talking about, and it's all right here in this Torah portion. In this, it is. Journey.
It is, and this so incredible how that we're just seeing this come to pass before our very eyes. This Torah portion, Lech Lecha, is the kill to this second Exodus. So much so, John, that Jeremiah says, "We will no longer say, 'Blessed be the Lord thy God that brought thee up out of Egypt.'" Now, guys, think about that monumental statement just right there by the prophet Jeremiah. "But you will say, 'Blessed be the Lord thy God that brought you out of the north country and from all the countries whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee.'" Amen.
Yeah. Amen. And I want to add to that, and that's regards to look at the nations that are most affected by the world events that are going on, and those are the nations involving New Zealand, Australia, Europe, Great Britain, North American countries, Canada, and the United States. These are the ones that are most under attack, which a lot of the migration routes during the exile, that's where the people went and have gone over the centuries and found themselves where they're living now. This is where these are the areas most under attack, how even more miraculous it will be that the Father will bring the people out from these areas and from these lands. I think it's all an amazing thing. And it all started out with Yahweh speaking to Abraham, to Avram. It all started out with that word. It was a word Abraham heard. It was a word, and it wasn't a roadmap sign showed up in the mail We're talking that the word of the Lord came to him and he said, yes, I'm going to go.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
so when we think about this, we as people, we are designed to hear the voice of Yah. I mean, I know that people say, man, I don't hear the voice of Yah like I need to, or you hear better than I do, or, pray about it. You're going to hear his voice. Well, sometimes there's just a lot of noise around us. And sometimes where it's hard to get to that quiet, still place in order to hear his voice. But it's very clear is that if Yahweh spoke to Avram this way, then how also he'll speak to us as descendants of Avram.
Amen.
And whether we're adopted or not, that he will speak to us. It will be very clear because he doesn't want any of his sheep lost. In fact, he'll even go out and search for the one that's still wandering out there and bring us in. So,
thank you, Lord.
So let's, I think those are really good points to bring out, is that we think, well, what if I miss it? What if I don't hear the word? No,
Amen.
No, he's very clear that he speaks clearly to us, and he will seek the one. He'll leave the 99 to find that one as well.
But that's where we are at, where we should be practicing his presence and practice hearing. Because when we learn to hear in the small things, like that voice in our head that says, don't go that way today, Sandy, go turn this way or do this. We need to be practicing that now so that we do recognize his voice. Don't think, because most of the time it's because we don't quiet ourselves in the midst of the noise of our lives. And we haven't learned to listen. We learn to ask, but we don't learn to listen. Hebrews 11:8 says, by faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive his inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. So here's the kicker that sort of brings what you said, everything. And we all know this, but we have to obey by faith. There's going to be a day and an hour where we leave everything we know and we have to obey by faith to go get the out. And we may think far, far away, but think what's transpired in the last year and a half. Everything has been turned on its head. So who would have thought things could happen so quickly, but they have, and they did. So therefore, it may be just before we know it, where that cry, get thee out, is here. And we've readied ourselves as his bride to hear his voice. We recognize it. We see it. We see the writing on the wall. We see the word being made alive around us as events transpire before us. And we don't explain them away except by the word. The word is what explains what's happening in our day. But Abraham walked in obedience and it was all about the heart. If our heart is, well, I really don't want to. I like this. I like Egypt. It feels so good. I like this. There may be some bad things, but I'm still in Egypt and I like it. Saul was removed because of a heart issue. David replaced him because of his heart. So Abraham's heart was bent towards Yahweh, and he walked in faith. And it was through, how do we know? Because of his obedience. So there we go. It's about obedience, and it's about the time when we are called to get out. Will we be ready to get out? And are we practicing that even now? So,
amen. Good word.
We really got to cut it off so we can stay within our time frame. But let me real quick. It plays right into the Brit Hadashah, John 8:51 through 58, and so sorry, but so hard on my eyes.
Bless you.
Yeshua said to the 13th disciple, truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he will never see death. The Jews said to him, now we know that you have a demon. Abraham died, as did the prophets. Yet you say, if anyone keeps my word, he will never taste death. It's exactly what we're all talking about, that word. We keep mentioning the word and what the Lord gives us and keeps going with. That's why Yeshua said, if you keep that word, you'll never see death. So,
right.
Amen.
Well, it's not the kind of death. he wasn't speaking about the kind of death that the Pharisees were speaking of.
Yeah,
The Pharisees,
but there was a division there because we have it in our heart. They didn't.
Amen, brother.
And they were speaking of the physical death. Yeshua was speaking of the spiritual death.
Yeah,
Amen.
I get it. But yet still, once again, we have it, the word in our heart. They didn't.
Amen.
You can see that division right there.
That's right. That's
Absolutely.
right, Bob.
All right.
Ricochet.
Love you, bro.
Amen.
Thank you.
Well, hey, that brings us to the end. I think that's a good place to land this thing for the Torah portions. And so we've got part 2 coming up, and you're not going to catch us on YouTube and you're not going to catch us on Facebook, but you can on lambnetwork.tv and Twitch. So we're going to jump over to the other side where we can talk freely and not have to censor ourselves. But we'll see you on the other side.
Love y'all.
Lech Lecha.
See you there.
Our doors are always open and our paths are free to walk.
If you're already on the website, you wouldn't have to switch over. Isn't that something? How about that?
Isn't that amazing?
All right.
We're
Love y'all.
especially blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
No one can come to you except through His love. Yeshua is the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to you except through His love. Torah, 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 Torah. Torah, 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 Torah. Father, you wiped all